All right, what's up, YouTube? For those of you who have been with me here on the channel for quite some time, those of you who know me personally, may be familiar with me, you guys know that I am into different forms of traditional spiritual practices. And I'll get into a lot of the other traditional spiritual practices that I am into in other videos in the future here on the channel. But in today's video, I'm going to be discussing a particular spiritual practice that is often misunderstood and is very controversial. Today, I'm going to be discussing why you, under no circumstances, should be practicing voodoo or spell casting or even candle magic if you do not know exactly what you are doing. The results of these things can be harmful, not only to yourself, but to people that you love. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're much more likely to have a negative result. Before I get into the story, let me give you guys a brief background on voodoo, where it comes from, what it is, the way that it is supposed to be used, okay? Voodoo is a traditional spiritual practice belonging to the Haitian people. Now, some people believe voodoo belongs to everybody from the Caribbeans and often mistake Jamaican people for people who practice voodoo. Please don't do that, okay? Voodoo is a traditional spiritual practice of the Haitians. Now, voodoo, I'm going to tell you guys how voodoo is supposed to be used, okay? So, centuries ago, you guys know that the English Europeans colonized Africa, okay? During that same time, there was a lot of colonization taking place. Now, French Europeans attempted to colonize Haiti, okay? They arrived in Haiti, they invaded Haiti, and their goal was to colonize these people, much like the English did with the people who were originally from Africa. The Haitians were able to defeat and repel their invaders, and they did so without firearms or munition. They did so by petitioning their voodoo loas. A loa would be the equivalent of a deity. You may want to use the word God. They did so by petitioning their voodoo loas, which gave them the strength and the strategy to beat, thwart, and repel their invaders. Now, in voodoo, there are different loas, okay? You have a loa that pertains to every aspect of life. You have one loa who is a messenger. He serves as the one who delivers the message to the loa that you wish to petition. You have one loa that rules over matters pertaining to love, finances, money, relationships, fertility. You have another loa who rules over things such as war and being able to crush your opposition. Just to give you an example of a few of them that are out there. Now, the way these petitions work, excuse me, these voodoo loas, they have their own personalities, okay? And they have their certain things that they like. Now, in order to petition them, you first need to ensure that you're petitioning the correct loa, all right? You need to make sure you're petitioning the loa that is that rules over the area that you need service with. And the way that works is you petition that loa, you provide them with an offering, which is usually one or a few things that they actually like, and in exchange for that, they provide you with their services. Excuse me. So going back to the French invading Haiti, as I said, the Haitians were able to defeat the French using their traditional practice of voodoo. Now, after many battles that took place in Haiti and many failed attempts to colonize these people, the French decided that they were going to broker a treaty with the Haitians because they were confused at how these Haitian farmers were able to continuously defeat them without any firearms, without any form of munitions, okay? So in the treaty or the agreement, the French agreed that they would leave the Haitian lands, they would cease any further attempts to try to colonize them. However, the only thing they're asking in exchange to end this battle is that the Haitians start incorporating their Roman Catholic saints into their spiritual practices, which were at the time unknown by the French. Now, these Roman Catholic saints, in voodoo, you have two forms of voodoo, okay? You have Haitian voodoo, which is the true voodoo, where they're petitioning Loas, as I said before, deities or gods. You also have New Orleans voodoo, which was spawned after this treaty was brokered by the French and the Haitians. Now, New Orleans voodoo is what you will primarily be dealing with if you're here in the USA. If you're here in the United States and you've ever gone to New Orleans, Mardi Gras, you've heard all the rumors about how New Orleans is haunted. There's so many haunted hotels and houses and haunted tours and all of that kind of stuff. You know that New Orleans is a very spiritual place where a lot of supernatural activity takes place. Okay. You also know that New Orleans is heavily populated by people who are either Cajun or of Creole descent, French-speaking descent. Okay. Now remember, these Roman Catholic saints were, I want to say, inserted into the voodoo spiritual practice when that treaty was brokered by the French with the Haitians. Okay. Now, I strongly believe that the Haitians agreed to incorporate these Roman Catholic saints into their traditional spiritual practices of voodoo and did not. I believe in Haiti still utilizes the voodoo loas and deities that they are already familiar with. Okay. Now, in New Orleans, you will see a lot of people who are practicing voodoo and they are petitioning these Roman Catholic saints. These saints were people who were prosperous or had some type of reputation, or perhaps they were notably known for a specific area during their life. Okay. And as a result, they are renowned to the Catholic people and the Roman people for such. So having them incorporated into this spiritual practice, if you start to pay attention, colonization always, one of the goals of colonization is to grow a particular religion, you know? So if you think about the French who tried to invade Haiti and failed, had they succeeded, they would have basically turned the Haitians into Catholics. Because they didn't succeed, they agreed to just start introducing some of their Roman Catholic saints into the Haitian spiritual practice of voodoo. And that's what created New Orleans voodoo, which is very different from Haitian voodoo. Haitian voodoo is V-O-U-D-O-U, and New Orleans voodoo is the traditional spelling that you know of, V-O-O-D-O-O. Now, in New Orleans, they are petitioning, they are utilizing Roman Catholic saints for their petitions, okay? That's where you get your St. Michael's or your St. Jude, St. Christensen, or St. Expedite. You know, these are Roman Catholic saints. Now, as I previously stated, they were good at different areas of their life, and that's what they're renowned for in Rome. And that is the reason why they wanted to be incorporated or kind of worshipped in some spiritual practice. Now that I've given you a quick background and synopsis on voodoo, you need to understand something about the subject. Voodoo is not supposed to be used, okay, to cast negative spells on people. It is not intended to be used to bring harm on people, okay? And this is where the misconception and controversy surrounding that traditional spiritual practice comes from. You know, in movies, we see voodoo priests with voodoo dolls, and maybe they'll break a leg on the doll, which is holding someone's energy, and then that person's leg will break, or you know, things like that. While that can be done, that is not the way it's intended to be used. And to anybody who may be viewing this of Haitian descent and you know more about this subject matter than I do, by all means, please feel free to drop a comment in the comment section. Correct anything wrong that I may be saying. As you can clearly tell, I am not of Haitian descent, and I would imagine that you know more about this subject matter than I do, okay? But voodoo is not intended to harm people, and there is a threefold law if you're using voodoo to cast negative spells, okay? Whatever negativity you utilize voodoo for to put out there into the universe against someone else, it comes back to you threefold. It's called the threefold law. So it means that you need to be prepared to have 3 times that negativity to come back to you. And that's one of the reasons why I'm telling you guys, do not practice voodoo and spell work if you do not know what you're doing. You need to understand that there's a certain way to curb the negative effects, because if you don't know what you're doing, you will more than likely experience some negative effects. If you know what you're doing, the proper way to cast a spell, you can curb the negative effects, okay? Negative effects can mean you're bringing harm to yourself or you're bringing harm to someone you love. Now, here's a quick story to give you an example of what I mean. While I was learning about voodoo, because I bought quite a few books off of Amazon to try to familiarize myself with it, because I don't like being somebody who talks about something and I really don't know what I'm talking about. So I wanted to make sure that I read a few books on it so I can find the similarities in the books, make sure that the stories align, and I'm like, okay, boom. In New Orleans voodoo, there is a Roman Catholic saint who goes by the name of Saint Expedite, okay? And as you can imagine, the word expedite determines how you interact with this particular voodoo saint. Expedite means to bring rapid results, okay? It means to get something done expeditiously. That being said, in life, he was a Roman Catholic centurion. He was a soldier, and his life ended by decapitation. He was beheaded. Now, I don't know if he was beheaded by imprisonment via the guillotine, which is a huge heavy blade that is suspended in the air that drops down on a prisoner's head and severs the head from the body, or if he was killed in an actual battle and beheaded by a weapon, maybe a sword or an axe. The details of his beheading, I'm not 100% sure, or let me just say I can't remember. Okay, I did buy a book that outlined the story, but I can't really remember because I read it a few years ago. But either way, Saint Expedite was a Roman Catholic soldier. Okay, he was killed by beheading, and he is one of the Roman Catholic saints that the French wanted incorporated into the traditional spiritual practice of voodoo. Okay, so in New Orleans voodoo, primarily, that is where people are petitioning Saint Expedite to get results that they want. Now remember, expedite, expeditiously, delivering fast results. Here's what I mean when I say you shouldn't be practicing voodoo or spell work if you don't know what you're doing. While I was learning about Saint Expedite, there was a story of a young lady who had lost her job, okay? Now, she had children to provide for, she had expenses, she didn't have any savings. After she utilized all of these things, she did not have any money, okay? She did a voodoo petition to Saint Expedite and told Saint Expedite, bring her some money. She provided him with the offering, the things that he liked, and I won't discuss all of these things in graphic detail here in this video. This video would run on entirely too long if I did. But she provided him with his offering and told him that she needed money to pay her bills. What you have to understand before petitioning these voodoo lords is you have to understand their personalities. You have to understand their ways and how they operate. And this is what I mean when I say don't practice this if you don't know what you're doing. Now, simply understanding their personalities is not enough, okay? But it does help. The fact that Saint Expedite is a Roman Catholic centurion who was killed in beheading means that his head is severed from his body, even in the spiritual form, okay? What this means, or what this symbolizes, is that because his head is severed from his body, he's not thinking straight, okay? The only thing he is focused on is getting you the result that you asked him for expeditiously, as fast as possible. He's not thinking logically because his head is not attached to his body, all right? So while she petitioned Saint Expedite to get her some money so that she can pay her bills, she didn't know what she was doing. She didn't understand the personality of the Roman Catholic saint that she had petitioned. And as a result of that, I want to say about a week after she petitioned him, she received an inheritance, and it was a substantial amount of money so that she can be able to keep her bills paid, take care of her kids, provide for herself. However, in order for her to receive an inheritance, what do you think had to happen first? Somebody close to her, a loved one who had named her in her will, had to die for her to receive an inheritance. And this is what I mean when I say you absolutely need to understand the personality of these entities that you are petitioning for assistance. And with Saint Expedite particularly, you need to understand that while he moves fast, that is the pro, but the con to petitioning him is that he's not thinking logically, okay? He's only concentrating on getting you what you need as fast as possible. In that particular case, to get her the money that she needed to sustain herself and her children, it meant to him, this is the fastest way I can get it to her. So a loved one of hers had to pass away in order for her to get that money. All right. Now, all that being said, I want to thank you guys for subscribing, for pushing that subscribe button, pushing that like button. Before I get into the meat and potatoes story of this video, please make sure you watch this all the way till the end. You do not want to miss any important details. This story will be kind of funny, but at the same time, it should count as a learning experience as to why I was inspired to name this video, Don't Practice Voodoo If You Don't Know Exactly What You're Doing. So I was in the military. Those of you may know. While I was in the military, I became very good friends with a gentleman who we'll call Kevin for the purposes of this video. Kevin is very close to his real name. Kevin and I were almost inseparable during that time. Very good friends. We had very similar interests, and we would often have these deep conversations about all kind of stuff. And it was amazing. This is when you know that you've met somebody who is a real friend, when you connect on that level. Kevin is he's a year older than myself. After we separated from the military, I came back to my home area, which is the DMV. Kevin went back to his home area, which is Long Island, New York. Okay. Years later, Kevin and I remained friends. Now, understand, the friends that you make in the military, these 9 times out of 10 will be your friends for life, because you guys have bonded through an experience that you will never bond with anyone else through that same experience. Basic training or tech school or whatever things it is that you have to endure while you're in the military. Usually the people that are around you when you endure it, you'll become friends with those people for the most part for life. Anyway, years later, Kevin's back home in Rhode Island. I'm home in the DMV area, okay? Kevin had gotten involved into voodoo, okay? Unbeknown to me. Now, at the time, my spiritual practice was limited to matters pertaining to astrology, and solely astrology, okay? Kevin had gone on into voodoo. Now, one day, we're having a phone conversation, and he tells me, yo, listen, man, I've been fucking around with this voodoo, and you guys are gonna have to forgive me. I like to imitate people when I when I'm talking from their perspective, just so you know that there's a distinct difference between when I'm talking versus when they're talking. So Kevin, back home in Long Island, I'm sorry, where he works, he's a water tech. And what he does for work is he drives around all day, van or truck or whatever company vehicle he's provided. He goes to different residential neighborhoods and he checks people's water meters so that he can know and report those back so that the water company can know how to assess that person's bill for the next bill that they're to receive in the mail when the bill is due. That's his job. Now, Kevin is efficient at his job. Okay, he's figured out a way where he can map out what direction he's going to travel, what neighborhoods he's going to hit and when, so that he can make one loop instead of driving back and forth erratically. He's very efficient at how he does his job. His supervisor recognized how efficient he was and how inefficient his co-workers were. So what happened was his supervisor started to give him more of a workload, a heavier workload, to compensate for what his co-workers were not able to do as efficiently as he. So he lightened the workload for all of his co-workers and made Kevin's workload heavier. Now, Kevin did not like this. He didn't appreciate this. He didn't feel as though it was fair that he was efficient and they weren't, so he should take on a bigger workload. Obviously, he took a very strong disliking to his supervisor, and this is when his voodoo stuff began. So, as I previously stated, there was a phone conversation that took place. Now, mind you, Kevin is from Long Island, New York. So this is how the phone conversation goes. Yo, hey, yo, nigga. Hey, yo, nigga, yo, check this shit out, son. Yo, check this shit out, son. I've been fucking around with this voodoo, son. You know what I'm saying? And you know my supervisor, like I told you, that nigga been getting on my fucking nerves, son. So you know what I'm gonna do, son? I'm gonna do this fucking voodoo spell to get rid of this nigga. And I'm like, what you mean, get rid of this nigga? And he's like, nah, son, this nigga's getting on my fucking nerves, man. I shouldn't be doing more work, man. I be trying to get more downtime so I can watch videos, so I can talk on the phone, so I can do all this shit. And this nigga trying to give me more work and shit, son. Nah, fuck that shit, son. I'm about to get rid of this nigga. And I'm like, bro, you do know that you're not supposed to be using voodoo to harm people, right? Like, that's not the way that shit is supposed to be used, because you don't like somebody, you trying to get rid of them. Like, are you sure you know what you fucking around with? He was like, nah, son. I mean, I ain't gonna do no shit like to you know, for him to die or nothing like that. But you know what I'm saying? What I'm gonna do is, you know, I'm gonna do this fucking spell, son. So, you know, this nigga find a new job, so I ain't gotta deal with this nigga no more, and I can go back to, you know, having my workload the way it was before this nigga started fucking with me and shit, son. So I'm just thinking to myself, like, I don't know what you about to do, but I wouldn't advise doing that shit. Man, fuck that shit, son. I done already did that shit. So, you know, about I want to say a few days passed, and he's like, nigga, guess what, son? Guess what? I'm like, what? He's like, yo, that supervisor I was telling you about, yo, I did this fucking spell. You know what I'm saying? All I wanted that nigga to do is get another job so he get the fuck away from me. Guess what happened today when I went into work, son? I'm like, what? He like, yo, that nigga, first thing he did when he came in and tell us what neighborhoods we were gonna cover and shit like that, this nigga told me, he's like, look, y'all, look, all of y'all, today's my last day. I found another job. Not gonna be working with y'all no more. And I was like, for real? And he's like, yes, nigga, I told you, nigga, I know what the fuck I'm doing, son. I told you I know what I'm doing, man. Then he ain't get hurt, you know what I'm saying? He ain't get injured. Exactly what I asked for is what happened. I wanted him to get a new job and to quit, so I ain't gotta work with him no more. And that's exactly what they did, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, I was kind of like, I ain't gonna lie, I was a little bit amazed that he was that particular about what he petitioned, and that's exactly what he got. This may have been one of the worst things, though, because this gave him confidence to continue. Mind you, I still don't think he knows what he's doing. So moving on, he calls me up one day, and not, like I said, he and I used to talk about a lot of different things: women we dated, life experiences, business ideas, all of this. And one of the things about he and I that made our relationship so unique, and I'm sure, you know, there's many of you out there that probably do the same thing. When we were talking about a person, we would give those people unique nicknames so that we can almost talk about them like literally in their face. Like they can be right next to us and we can still talk about them and they wouldn't know that they're being talked about. Now, mind you, it was never done with any malice intent. It was just always for pure comedy, okay? So there was this girl that he was dating and or seeing at some point. And he showed me a picture of this young lady. I thought she was attractive. Anyway, he came up with the nickname, because I still to this day, I don't know this young lady's real name, but we called her Pink Stink. And I think that is a terrible nickname, saying it out loud in a video here. I think that is a terrible nickname. But for those of you that may be wondering why her name was Pink Stink, use your imagination, okay? Because I'm not going to get into that story on YouTube. Anyway, Pink Stink was this young lady's name. He calls me up one day and he's like, yo, nigga, check this shit out, son. Check this shit out. You remember how I did that shit with my supervisor, son? I did that voodoo shit and got rid of that nigga? And I'm like, Yeah. He like, yeah, son, I'm about to fucking do this spell on Pink Stink. And I'm like, bro, come on, bro. Like, I don't think you should be doing this. What's the spell gonna be, bro? Because you know you should not be doing spells to take away a person's free will. You know what I mean? Like, nah, fuck that shit, son. It's about to be like a love spell kind of shit. I can't remember the type of spell he was doing, but it was some type of candle spell and some type of jar spell, along with petitioning this voodoo lord. Like, he had the foolproof plan about to be enacted. So me knowing at the time of his personality, I know he's somebody who thinks he's like the smartest person in the world. And if you don't have any education on the subject matter, then he don't want to hear anything you got to say. So what did I do? To deter him from doing what he was about to do, I went on to Amazon. I bought 5 books that were on voodoo and its origins, and I read through all 5 of those books in a matter of days, okay? Just so I can have a better understanding of what you should and should not be doing, what can happen, and all of this mess, right? And one of the things I immediately understood was that you're not supposed to be using voodoo to take away a person's free will. You should not be doing love spells on a person. So we have another conversation, and he was like, yeah, son, I'm about to do this shit, son. As soon as I find this shit that she left in my motherfucking house that got her energy on it, you know, so I can put that shit in a spell and bind it, then yeah, son, I'm gonna do this shit. And I was like, bro, I'm trying to tell you, man, I just read all these books on voodoo. I really don't think you should do this spell. Number 1, you're not supposed to be taking away a person's free will using spell work, okay? Number 2, that shit can go terribly wrong, because if it's a love spell, this person could become so obsessed with you that they become violent, that it becomes like a fatal attraction type thing. You know what I mean? And they start to hurt you or the people close to you just to get to you. He's like, nah, nigga, fuck that shit, son. I know what I'm doing, man. That shit with my supervisor worked. I'm about to do this shit, son. I got everything I need. I'm about to do this shit. And I was like, so what's the spell gonna be, particularly? And he's like, yeah, nigga, I want this bitch to be so sexually obsessed with me because my eggplant is so big. He didn't use the word eggplant, but I'm trying to keep it PG-13. Yeah, I want her to be obsessed with me because my eggplant is so big. And I was just like, bro, what? I'm like, that just sounds irresponsible. If somebody who's practicing this, whether you know what you're doing or you're not, that sounds like a very irresponsible spell to be casting. Yeah, fuck that shit, son. I know what I'm doing. So I want to say like a week or 2 passed, and we had many conversations in a week or 2 about everything but the spell that he had done and this girl Pink Stink. Like, none of that ever came up in these conversations for about 2 weeks. And then one day we're on the phone and we're talking about, I don't remember exactly what we're talking about, but it triggered him. And he was like, oh shit, son. Hey, yo, nigga, did I fucking tell you what happened at work the other day, son? And I'm like, nah, what happened at work? And he's like, yo, so nigga, you know I'm in the truck all day by myself, right? You know what I'm saying? You know I do all that. You know, I'm like, yeah, I know all that, okay? I'm thinking he's gonna say he's been in like some type of car accident or some shit like that. So he's like, yo, nigga, I'm in the truck, right? And you know I work from like 8 to 4, so I get in the fucking truck and I'm on my way to my first neighborhood to do the shit that I need to do, right? And son, I keep got a itching. I got a scratch, down there. And I ain't thinking shit about it, because, I'm a man. It's normal to scratch down there, right? And I'm like, the fuck is he telling me this? You know what I'm saying? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, yeah, so? And he's like, yo, but nigga, as I'm scratching this shit, like, a couple hours, 2 hours into the day, 3 hours into the day, my nigga, I'm scratching like crazy, son. And I gotta dig real deep to satisfy the itch. And I'm like, okay, this might be a little TMI, because I'm trying to figure out what's the point of this story. And he was like, yo, nigga, long story short, nigga, I had to get rushed to the motherfucking hospital, halfway through my work day, nigga. I was having an allergic reaction. I was like, an allergic reaction? He like, yeah, nigga, my motherfucking shit, my shit swole up like a basketball. And I was like, what you mean, like a basketball? Like, for what? What was you allergic to? He was like, yo, nigga, I don't know, man. I went to the hospital. Nigga, they don't know what triggered the allergic reaction, nothing. But all I know is my shit down there that I was scratching, that shit swole up to the size of a basketball. Now, for those of you who are familiar with sports, a basketball is pretty fucking big for male genitals to swell up to. So I'm trying to envision this in my mind. I said swole up like a basketball. And I was like, you know what happened, nigga? He's like, what? I said, you voodooed yourself. I told you, dumbass, that you're not supposed to be practicing voodoo if you don't know what you're doing. I told you, dumbass, don't be doing spells to try to take away somebody's free will. And I told you, dumbass, how irresponsible it was to be doing a spell for that particular reason. Who did you petition? I know who you petitioned. You petitioned Papa Legba, the messenger, the trickster, okay? And you got exactly what you asked for because you don't know how to curb the negative effects of these spells. You told him, hey, I need this particular girl to be sexually obsessed with me because of the size of my dick. That's what you said. And that's probably all you said. But you didn't realize that if you don't curb the negative effects, if you don't cast that spell properly, all bets are off. And because he's a trickster, he's laughing at your ass right now because he gave you exactly what you asked for. You wanted your shit to be so big, right? And now look at your ass went to the hospital because your shit swole up so big. You know what I mean? Now, it wasn't funny at the time that he told me the story, but looking back at it, I can laugh at it now because that's exactly what I mean when I tell you guys, in all seriously, you should not be practicing voodoo or spell work if you do not know exactly what you are doing. Okay, you need to know how to curb those negative effects. And I'm gonna be honest with you, if you didn't learn voodoo from a Haitian priest, a Mamba, or a Hogan, I wouldn't be out here trying to cast any spells. I wouldn't be out here doing anything as it pertains to voodoo because those are a prime example of some of the negative effects that can happen to you. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up for this video. I promise you, I want to thank you guys for watching this video all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this story and this brief history lesson into voodoo as Haitian spiritual practice and why you shouldn't be practicing it if you don't know what you're doing, please do me a favor. Tap that like button. I want to thank you guys for hitting that subscribe button. I'll be back with more videos, more entertaining stories pertaining to spirituality, relationships, and career field in the future. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.